Come, come, Mr. Bond, you disappoint me. I really like that one. It's really good.
Red wine with fish. Well, that should have told me something.
You may know the right wines.
For my top 5, I picked the dialogue between Red Grant and Bond on the train, on the Orient Express in From Russia with Love, which is a really, really great piece of dialogue. First of all, From Russia with Love is one of the classic spy films, one of the classic spy thrillers, and a classic James Bond film. I really like it a lot. It doesn't have so many action set pieces, but it has this style of the 1960s, of the early 1960s, of the spy thrillers of that time. And it works really well on so many levels. And this dialogue between Red Grant and Bond in this train apartment of the Orient Express, and the only thing you hear are the two men talking and the rattling of the train on the tracks. So this is really the soundscape you are in. And Bond is kneeling in front of Red Grant. So Grant is superior in that scene. He never takes his eyes off Bond. And there is that scene where he puts the silencer on the gun, and the gun is on his shoe. And he never, while he's doing that, he's never looking at the gun. He's always looking at Bond. And there are things that he calls Bond old man, which is just like old sport in The Great Gatsby, where Gatsby always calls Nick old sport.
How does it feel, old man?
Old man? Is that what you chaps in Smash call each other?
I thought that was a really nice nod, if it is one. And well, then there is this whole cold, stern and terrifyingly calm presence of Red Grant, and Bond tries to get in there and make him tell him secrets and whatever to get him somewhere, but he can't. And in the end, Grant stands up and slaps Bond across the face and delivers this great line, so calm, my orders are to kill you and deliver the lecture. How I do it is my business. This is so fascinating. It's really, really well done, and it's a long scene. It's not a short dialogue. It's actually a long scene, but one I always admired a lot. Yeah, Robert Shaw, great actor.
Must be a pretty sick collection of minds to dream up a plan like that.
You see the headlines? British agent murders beautiful Russian spy, then commits suicide.
Tell me, which lunatic asylum did they get you out of?
Don't make it tougher on yourself.
It gets tricky when you can only pick 5, but okay. I went for Thunderball, Bond and Fiona, just shortly before the Junkanoo sequence. So Fiona Volpe, played fantastically by Luciana Paluzzi, an actress I like very much. Actually, Fiona Volpe is my favorite Bond girl, partly because of this dialogue scene. So Bond opens the door, and there are these henchmen, and suddenly she stands behind him with a gun in his face, and after they just had sex, and she threatens him, and he says, my dear girl, don't flatter yourself.
My dear girl, don't flatter yourself. What I did this evening was for king and country. You don't think it gave me any pleasure, do you?
He's trying to play the whole situation down, and he's trying to insult her, but this is Fiona Volpe. She's a Spectre agent. She's not easily insulted, and she can throw things back at you, and she does so. She responds with this equal fierceness and takes this hot poker of Bond's sexual escapades and rams it right into him.
But of course, I forgot your ego, Mr. Bond. James Bond, who only has to make love to a woman and she starts to hear heavenly choir singing. She repents and immediately returns to the side of right and virtue. But not this one.
This is really a fantastic little piece of dialogue. always liked that. And I have to say, Luciana Paluzzi looks great in that scene. She looks great in that dress, and it's just a wonderful piece of dialogue. Yeah. This is the one where the impersonations come in. I can do a decent impersonation of Roger Moore, and if I try really hard, maybe even of Christopher Lee, but well, we'll see. I picked The Man with the Golden Gun for my top 3 because you have these two fantastic actors, Roger Moore and Christopher Lee, sitting opposite each other in the dinner table on Scaramanga's Island, with Britt Ekland in the middle between them, and Scaramanga and Bond have this verbal fight, this verbal duel, and they gave Christopher Lee some really great lines.
Oh, come, Mr. Bond, you disappoint me. You get as much fulfillment out of killing as I do, so why didn't you admit it?
I admit killing you would be a pleasure.
You should have done that when you first saw me.
He's trying to draw Bond out, but Bond is not really responding to it. Actually, insults are being thrown around, but in a very gentlemanly, almost polite manner, so to speak.
Sounds a bit old-fashioned, doesn't it? I mean, pistols at dawn, that sort of thing.
Indeed it is, Mr. Bond. But it still remains the only true test for gentlemen.
I doubt if you qualify on that score.
And this is fascinating to watch. How often does that happen in dialogue nowadays? I mean, nowadays when we speak and we insult each other, we very quickly resort to swear words and everything. You know, the F word and everything. But here in The Man with the Golden Gun, this dialogue at the dinner table is so carefully written. And it has so many nice moments, like Bond saying there is a 4-letter word and you're full of it. You automatically know what is meant without it being said. And that is a really, really nice thing. Of course, they want to have a family-friendly film, and you can't say things like... But it's a great dialogue scene. It's really fantastic. 6 bullets to your 1. I only need 1. It's such a great display of power. And I mean, Scaramanga has a plan with his Solex agitator device, but he has this little side quest to kill James Bond, and he says he wants to do a thing that he's remembered for, to kill 007, so he really makes that his passion. But at the same time, relaying that to Bond in a very calm manner and at the dinner table. So it doesn't get any better than that.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
For my second place, I picked the train conversation that Daniel Craig's Bond has with Vesper Lynd, played by the hugely talented Eva Green. And it's a lovely dialogue sequence because, like much of the Daniel Craig films, it is very fast-paced, but it's on a very personal level. So these two don't know each other, but also, like in The Man with the Golden Gun, they are throwing around insults and they're sizing each other up in a very amusing way.
Well, your beauty's a problem. You worry you won't be taken seriously.
Which one can say of any attractive woman with half a brain?
True, but this one overcompensates by wearing slightly masculine clothing, being more aggressive than her female colleagues, which gives her a somewhat prickly demeanor. And ironically enough, makes it less likely for her to be accepted and promoted by her male superiors, who mistake her insecurities for arrogance.
By the cut of your suit, you went to Oxford or wherever, and actually think human beings dress like that. But you wear it with such disdain. My guess is you didn't come from money, and your school friends never let you forget it.
From the way it was written, Vesper Lynd comes across as very intelligent, and not that kind of bimbo Bond girl that you sometimes had in the 60s, where there was poor writing on the female parts. But you can feel from the screen that this was very carefully written. No? And there is a thing I don't like in there. It's the mentioning of brands where she says expensive watch and he says Omega. It's sort of put in there for no reason. I don't know if it was just in there to mention the brand, but otherwise the exchange that these two have, I find it very appealing. And I think Bond is drawn to Vesper already in that moment. And when she leaves, you can see him laughing it off and shaking his head and sort of going, what was that all about? But somehow I liked it. So you, as a viewer, don't know if these two will get along. Bond doesn't know if this will work or not, and there are more scenes when they arrive in Montenegro in the hotel. She's a bit feistier than on the train, and she dislikes things that he does, and this is a really good counterpart to Bond, I think. But this train conversation is a great piece of dialogue. It's very, very well written. Yeah.
I will be keeping my eye on our government's money and off your perfectly formed house.
You noticed.
Even accountants have imagination. How was your lamb?
Skewered on sympathizers.
Good evening, Mr. Bond.
Good evening, Miss Lind.
Number one. Well, I gave that a lot of thought, because there are a lot of good dialogue sequences in the Bond films, just as many as there are bad ones. But I would go for The Spy Who Loved Me, the confrontation between Bond and Anya Amasova, played by Barbara Bach, and Bond, played by Roger Moore. I like that dialogue scene because Bond and Anya Amasova have been through a lot together before this dialogue scene appears. They have been in the desert. She has survived the odd comments about her driving by Bond, and they have been working against each other because they are enemy agents. Anya Amasova is a Russian agent, and Bond is, of course, a British agent. Yeah, there has been a kiss on that boat, but a few moments later, she put him to sleep with some substance out of a cigarette that she blew in his face. So these two are working against each other, but what Anya Amasova does not know is that Bond killed her boyfriend at the beginning of the film, in the opening sequence in Switzerland, where he is pursued on skis, and one of those skiers was Anya Amasova's boyfriend. And she finds out in this dialogue scene, and she confronts Bond about it.
The man I loved, he was in Baumgarten 3 weeks ago. Did you kill him?
And he does something interesting. Normally on film, you see the people's faces. So the focus is on the face and on the frontal appearance of an actor. And Bond turns around, and we as the audience, we see his back. And there is silence. He is thinking how to respond to the question if he killed her boyfriend. And he's weighing his options. Is he going to tell the truth, or is he going to lie? And that's the vibe I get from just seeing his back and this moment of silence, of Bond not responding to that question. And then he turns around and he has decided already to be honest to her.
When someone's behind you on skis at 40 miles an hour trying to put a bullet in your back, you don't always have time to remember a face. In our business, Anya, people get killed. We both know that. So did he. It was either him or me. The answer to the question is yes. I did kill him.
He's trying to rectify what he did. And I think that is a superb piece of dialogue. And given that they have been through a lot together, and I wouldn't say she has feelings for him at that point in the film, but because they are still enemy agents. But maybe there is a tiny flame that keeps growing. Well, you don't know that for sure. But she then says,
Then, when this mission is over, I will kill you.
she's waging revenge on Bond, no matter what they've been through. And then she just goes away. So that shows you why sometimes people go for a lie before telling the truth, or instead of telling the truth. If Bond would have told her, no, it wasn't me, I wasn't in Switzerland, I didn't kill your boyfriend, maybe she would not have said that to him. Maybe she would not have said, when this mission is over, I'm going to kill you. In a real-life situation. She has no way of proving that. She has no way of proving that Bond killed her boyfriend, I think. And from that point of view, I think the whole scene, not just the dialogue, how it was written, but the whole scene with Bond turning his back and weighing his options was very well done, and that's why it's my top one. Wouldn't be everybody's pick, I understand that, but it's certainly my kind of pick. But I agree, you have to look long and hard for dialogue scenes if you have to rank them in a top 5. Yeah. And given how much I like rankings. But yeah, thanks anyway.